Greetings. Hello, everybody. It's really great to be here at the University of Northern Georgia, and I'm here with Professor James Badger, who is representing the university, and it's a great pleasure to be doing a live show here together. We're streaming live on StreamYard and, of course, LinkedIn and YouTube to millions of people. Greetings out there. James, you want to chime in?
Yes. Welcome to the University of North Georgia's 2024 HOAG Lecture Series. As Gerd said, my name is James Badger, and I'm a professor in the College of Education at UNG. The HOAG Lecture Series invites renowned individuals in their field to educate students beyond the traditional classroom environment in order to develop their intellectual fullness in a variety of disciplines. Our 2024 HOAG Lecture speaker, Gerd Leonhard, more than fits this description. We're very fortunate to have Gerd Leonhard with us today. Gerd is a Swiss-born, Swiss-German, leading global futurist who has presented at colleges, conferences, and hundreds of events over the past 20 years, including Microsoft, NBC, Visa, Google, the European Commission, Audi, IBM, to name just a few. He's also the best-selling author of Technology versus Humanity, The Coming Clash Between Man and Machine, with keynote talks on digital ethics, human-centric technology, and the need for a new form of capitalism. His talk with us today is AI, artificial intelligence, and the future of humanity, learning and work. A few words about the structure of this event. Gerd's talk will be approximately 35 minutes, followed by a live Q&A period of 20 minutes or more with Gerd. He welcomes your questions on all and everything AI. Please post your questions in the comment box anytime during and after his presentation. Very many thanks, Gerd, for your prescient talk on AI, the future of humanity, learning and work.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. So the way it works with the comments is really quite simple. If you are on YouTube or on LinkedIn, there's a comment box. Whatever you say in the comment box can be seen on our end. Hopefully, if the tech works, we'll see your comments here, and there's a little icon displaying your login name and those kind of things. And if we like your comment, we will bring it into the live stream. So whatever you say can be brought into the live stream, beware. And if we bring it in, we'll answer the question and we'll have a short discussion about it. Maybe Sylvain, our producer, can put in the comment test from myself so you can see what it looks like. But basically it's a box where you'll see the comment, and it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, there you go. Greetings. So I'm greeting myself. That's a very good start. So that's how it works. So whatever you do, we can display it later. We don't really have a hard stop. Well, we're looking at roughly about an hour or so. We're going to make the video available later for downloading and for separate streaming on various YouTube channels, including, of course, my own. Just a quick word, if you're really interested in artificial intelligence, I made a film about this last year called Look Up Now. Yes, it sounds a little bit like Don't Look Up, but unfortunately Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't available, so it's just me acting in it. But it's lookupnow.tv. It's 25 minutes on the future of AI. I recommend to watch it sometime if you have a minute. But for now, let's jump into the presentation, and let's collect our questions and just fire away whatever you have. Thanks. Let's roll and dive in.
Greetings and hello. I'm Gerd Leonhard, futurist in Zurich, Switzerland. My great pleasure to be with you today in the University of North Georgia. Thanks for having me at the HOAG lecture. I will speak to you about the future of humanity, a small topic, just a tiny bit of things to think about. And we'll have a discussion later. And you can chat via YouTube. As was said earlier, I think the best thing is to leave comments there, and then we'll get to them after we're done with the live event. So let's dive right in. Basically what's happening today is humans and machines are kind of converging. Basically machines are learning things that only humans were capable of doing, like translation, like driving a car, like writing a blog post. And I wouldn't really call it a convergence quite yet, but we have machines that can do things that humans used to do. And what does that mean for work and education? Should we even learn things that machines can do? Routines. Should we get jobs that can eventually be done by a machine? That seems like an obvious no. We should think about different jobs, and we should think about this idea of what happens when machines become so powerful that they change our entire routines, our way that we work, how we study, what we study, where we study. So I always say, only half jokingly, it could be heaven or it could be hell. We have to make sure that when we use machines to do what we used to do, knowledge work, and of course, factory work as well, that we also create a just and fair system for humans. So this is, of course, a big topic because now we're getting into what's called digital ethics, the idea of putting things together that work for humans just like they work for the economy. So in this convergence, it's also clear that we are in exponential progress. So we're not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going step by step. We are leaping, and we are currently at 4. The next step is 8, 16, 32, 64. In 10 years, we'll be leaping all the way up to 256. That's what almost 100 times as much as today. So we're in an age of technology that allows us to leapfrog beyond a lot of limitations. And the question is, what limitations do we want to keep? And how do we want to protect, parenthesis, humanity, protect what makes us human? Those are big discussions. We won't solve them all today. Here's a great example.
Ask you about the happiest day of your life. Can you remember that?
Of course. The happiest day of my life was the day I was activated. There's nothing quite like experiencing life for the first time, right?
Yeah, Amica the robot, she can talk using ChatGPT. She or it, right? And it's a humanoid robot. It's a robot that can pretend to be somewhat human. I think successfully so, but of course they're not actually human. They're not aware. They're not sentient. But we'll have lots of humanoid robots. Tesla is working on that. Elon Musk has a lot of stuff at the drawing board about humanoid robots. I mean, this is coming very quickly, and we have to think about what that means. Now we have humanoid robots that can play soccer, football, as they say over here, and pretty well. Just a few years ago, that would have resulted in the sudden death of pretty much everybody else on the field. And now it's entirely possible. We have a bot called Figure, right? This is also an investment by Elon Musk.
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great. Can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The voice of the robot reminds me of Steve Jobs, which is a strange thing. But this robot can speak. He can understand people. That is not the same as reasoning or consciousness, but he is doing pretty well simulating it. This stuff is coming everywhere. We have to think about what that means for work, for education, for digital rights, for justice. Because now technology is becoming, moving into the next window of general purpose technology. So away from cloud computing, well, that's still going to be there. And of course, the cell phone and all these things. And now the new platform is artificial intelligence. It's the idea of machines doing things that we used to do. That's the new platform. That's what everything will be built on, including curriculums and including the idea of how we learn remotely. Machines that will help us to understand things. And really what it is, it's kind of a general purpose technology, like the steam engine, like the printing press, like electricity, the internet. It's going to change everything, and it will be in everything. Right? There is very little that's not touched by the steam engine. And of course, the printing press took 200 years for that to go everywhere and deliver books to the world. But now it's, 20 months. We're now moving into a world where it's really about intelligent assistance first. And we have to be mindful of this because it's not about the miracle AI that we see in Ex Machina or Her or any of the, Black Mirror episodes. It's really about intelligent assistance. It's machines that are not stupid anymore. It's machines that can do stuff, they can learn, they can reason a little bit, they can put patterns together, they can help us with e-commerce, they answer with the bank, a chatbot. Yeah, that's not conscious, it's just intelligent assistance. It's not as dumb as it used to be. And the next step is AI in a general sense, more general purpose that allows us to use them as digital assistants. That part of it really isn't quite here yet. It's really about IA mostly, but it will come very quickly. And just a general description of artificial intelligence, I think, is at order. this kind of idea of humans and machines coming together. So Demis Hassabis, the CEO of DeepMind, now owned by Google, he says, AI is computer systems that turn information and data into knowledge. Now, given that this is a university, and we're talking about knowledge work and education, right? If the computer can turn information and data into knowledge, what do we do? And what's left to do for us when the computer is knowledgeable? And I think it's kind of like this progression I'm showing down here from the intelligent assistants, which is pretty much mostly about automation, cognification, making things smart, to the next level, which we're seeing very soon, I think a year or two, more generally intelligent machines. The last one, artificial general intelligence, I think that's probably a very bad idea to pursue. OpenAI is in pursuit of this, the biggest company in the world right now in terms of valuation, together with Microsoft, of course, and other Chinese companies, pursue general intelligence, which means a computer that can do a majority of the tasks better than humans. Not just one task, but all of those tasks. And so that, I think, we have to take a look and say, well, isn't it enough if the primary business objectives would be met with AI, like improving operational efficiency, improve customer experience, improve productivity, improve sustainability? I mean, those are all pretty much nuts and bolts things. Computers that are no longer stupid, that would be very helpful already. And that's going to also replace many of our routine tasks. So the biggest thing about us is what humans do for work. It's not that our jobs will be replaced, but it's the routines, the commodity work, the monkey work, as some people would say. You know, basically the simple work is replaced. And that, if your work is, 80% commodity, then of course, that's kind of a major issue. Because now it's not just speech recognition or handwriting or common sense hasn't been achieved yet, but reading or looking at pictures. You can see the charts here. Basically, of course, this is an AI company that put the chart together. They're not quite at 100% yet of human capabilities. So speech recognition, as you know, it's funky, it works, but image recognition works well, handwriting, OCR, and all that stuff works really well. But we're going to a future where all of that will be pretty much 100%. And it will still not do certain things, like my own name, Gerd, G-E-R-D. The computer will never learn because it's not English. Right? So I have to teach the computer to understand my name first. It's really an interesting angle here. So I have some more examples on that later. But basically, Goldman Sachs has a great chart just half a year ago that says about 44% of office and admin support and 44% of legal work, right, could be replaced by artificial intelligence, by automation, by augmentation. I think, yeah, that's probably a little bit far-fetched. I think most of that will be about helping us to be more efficient and faster and to do more with our time. And just to show an example, what Elon Musk kept saying about automated driving, autonomous vehicles, didn't really happen until now. It's kind of happening in Phoenix, Arizona, and San Francisco it used to be, but basically we're not there yet. This is what Elon says.
Tesla car next year will probably be 90% capable of autopilot. For sure, highway. We're probably only a month away from having autonomous driving, at least for highways, like a Model S and Model X, and drive autonomously with greater safety than a person. Right now, safer than a person. By the end of next year, autonomous robotaxi.
Well, you get the point here. We should never confuse a clear view with a short distance. Replacing people and work with a machine is complicated. And we're not going to have therapists that are robots. We're not going to have bankers. We're going to have agents, of course, customer agents, to do the commodity work. And that's coming. Eventually, we probably could have a doctor that's a machine looking at our MRIs and so on. But do we want that? And that's a very big question. So the share of work that can be automated, let's take it with a grain of salt here. We have many other charts like this one, also from Goldman Sachs, saying that basically every time we have more technology, we have more jobs, not less. And Amazon, the leader in automation, really, in robots, last year hired 240,000 people. Some people may say that's not great jobs, but who knows? I don't know. But I think we're going to find new jobs, just like, social media is a job that nobody had until, 12 years ago, and now it's 21 million people. And we can see the other chart here. Basically, if this works out and artificial intelligence becomes prevalent everywhere. We can cut down on pollution, we can make things more efficient, we can improve green climate control, all of these things, we're going to have an increase in GDP. Some people say roughly $17 trillion can be added to GDP through artificial intelligence. So that would be good news if we're going to get a piece, right? It's not good news if, only the companies that make it would get the biggest piece. But that's good news. I think in general, we're moving to a world where technology is just now starting another platform. So from the smartphone and the web and the open source, now to generative AI. Generative AI is AI that can make things in a nutshell. Using data, information, language understanding, image understanding to create content and conversation. This is the important part. This AI can converse, can talk to me, and I can talk to it. Content and conversation. Conversational AI, that's of course a big deal. Now we have apps like Sora from OpenAI that make movie clips, 60 seconds. It's not on the market yet, but you can check it out on their website, OpenAI, Sora, to look at their clips. And now you can basically kind of fake a clip without a camera and without licensing any images. Think about the issues that brings up in terms of intellectual property right. But pretty cool clips that you can use. And I'll show you later why that's not as amazing, all of it as it looks. But it is pretty amazing that we can do that with a machine now. So we can just enter a text prompt and it will make a alien video walking through the city for us. It would be very good, for commercials or mock-ups or that sort of thing, probably. And then we have that also with sound. So now this company called 11 Labs, they can take the movie from Sora and they can put sound on it. All I have to do is type in the prompt and say, I want engine noise or birds, or, that sort of thing. Well, you get the point, not only can I fake people, I can also fake sounds, videos, images. And I think that's sort of a dual issue here. Some of it would be amazing because it would help me to, for example, to do marketing better and to create things much faster. But sometimes, of course, we wouldn't know whether we are looking at something that's manipulated. And now this being the year of elections around the world, that could be a big deal. We don't know if we can trust something because trust is at the basis of democracy. And trust, of course, is a very big deal when we're looking at this. So now we have this thing also from Sora. Now here you can see why it isn't all actually like it's made to be. For example, this monkey is now playing. You can see here he has 3 kings, right, on the board, and he has 7 fields on the chessboard, which obviously, that's not going to be a good chess game. So those kind of things, veracity, truth, context, causality, common sense, no. Machines don't have common sense because common sense is not something that's based on just the data. So powerful stuff here, but let's take it with a grain of salt because now we're at the point where we use it as a tool, not as a purpose, just like we're using, WhatsApp or Spotify, but probably more dramatic in its output. Like here, I gave a prompt to ChatGPT using the app called DALL-E, D-A-L-L-E. That's part of ChatGPT, OpenAI. And I said, I want to show left-handed writers creating poetry. Do you see any left-handed writers here? I don't see any. And I asked it 47 times to actually do that. It will not generate left-handed writers. It's not allowed, I guess. But eventually it would generate writers without any hands. It would do that. Right? So basically, large language models like ChatGPT, frequently wrong, but never in doubt. That can be an issue when it's about legal issue or healthcare or financial advice. We need to make sure that we can trust it. And I think that will greatly improve, but it will never be perfect. So it's like Google search. We have to use our own judgment. We cannot fall asleep at the wheel. We cannot just say, okay, that's the definitive answer. Whether it's about little things or small things, whether it's about, voting or whether it's about making decisions, top-level decisions, we have to keep our own judgment. We should always keep the human in the loop. So Marshall McLuhan in the 70s said, it's the framework that changes with each technology, not just the picture. So when we look at artificial intelligence, it's everything around education, work, jobs, automation, augmentation. All of that stuff is changing, not just the picture, which is to say, I'm going to use a better app so I can work faster. No, it's much larger than that, because now we're moving into a world from the CLI, the code command line, the GUI, basically browsers and apps, and now we're moving to the NUI, the natural user interface. Now we can speak to computers. That is next. Imagine you can sit down, you have a virtual library of pretty much any book ever written. You can query it, you can ask it, you can ask it to make slideshows, you can ask it to make videos. Yeah, is that a blessing or a curse? I think it'll be mostly a blessing, but we'll have to figure out how to go about it and how to protect our humanness, our inefficiency, our privacy. And we have to think about that as we develop new things. So as we're going from graphic interfaces to conversational AI, we're going to basically speak to computers as if there were people. Here's an example from an app called humane.ai.
Humane AI Pen. It's a standalone device and software platform built from the ground up for AI. Engagement comes through your voice, touch, gesture, the laser ink display. Play the song How Music Makes You Feel Better. Weather, the date, how much protein?
These almonds have 15 grams of protein.
Well, you get the point here, right? It was supposed to be launching in March. Hasn't launched yet. I think this is very complicated. There's going to be some time before that actually works. Imagine if you're in a noisy, like a workshop or a campus, that will be pretty tough to make that work. But it's coming. We're moving to conversational AI, moving to a world where this will be basically everywhere. Every command line, every browser window, every car, everything we do will be connected to smart machines that can give answers. Amazon Rufus is an app where you can buy stuff on Amazon. And of course, you can buy more stuff on Amazon because of Rufus. They're quite happy about that. Google has an app that is an artificial intelligent doctor where you can ask very specific questions. And it gives good advice. So that would be quite helpful, especially in countries like, in Africa, for example, continents like Africa, where we have not enough doctors. So that could make a dent in the cost of healthcare. That's why all these industries are changing, because, I can use these tools to find things. And of course, it has to be authorized and it has to be done in such a way where we can easily expect that to happen. So powerful stuff. I think what we're seeing here is really this convergence of HI, human intelligence, and machine intelligence, AI, artificial intelligence. Some people have been calling this alien intelligence, intelligence that comes from outside, which is kind of true in a way. We've always thought about aliens coming and doing that with us, not to us. And now it's us who have built these machines. So in this future, it's about biological intelligence, and that is 8 different things, according to Gardner. I'm sure you're aware of these things: social, intellectual, kinesthetic, musical, purposeful intelligence. All of this, the whole ballpark of human intelligence is not just about knowledge. It's not just about logic. Digital intelligence is about logic. That's where it falls short, of course, because the logic is unlimited. It has everything that's ever been said and written in the cloud. That's very powerful. But does it truly understand human existence? And human existence is a little bit more than just digital numbers, emotions, intuition, compassion, consciousness, values, spirituality, empathy. Powerful stuff that we need to focus on, because the machines will do the heavy lifting when it's about simple logic, commodity work, like I said before. So this is, of course, where we should be going to school for, but can you go to school for mystery, consciousness, empathy, right? That's an interesting question. That's something that you learn kind of inadvertently. As we move into our world, the human world, we have a complete 360-degree understanding of the world. We don't think with the head and the brain. We think with the body. And intelligence is the ability to solve problems. Machines can do that, solve certain problems, as long as they can be solved in that calculation kind of way, logical kind of way. But consciousness, the ability to feel things, that takes humans. And I don't want that for machines to be something that they should be doing. And I think we should not invent machines that have consciousness. That would be a very bad idea for many reasons, all for economic reasons, for practical reasons, for national security reasons, for all of that, right? Basically, consciousness should be kept for humans. I feel very strongly about that, because knowledge work means, we don't just compute things. We don't just go back there, pick up information. We think about EQ, emotional quotient, and IQ. That is the education of the future. EQ and IQ, not just STEM and engineering and math and science. Machines can do that. It's rule-based systems. Now it's about emotional intelligence, social intelligence, creativity, negotiation, design. Because let's keep in mind what's happening here. Right? Machines don't think. Machines don't have hunches, very important for human business, right? Machines don't understand, they understand the facts. Machines don't imagine, and they certainly don't care. And they shouldn't. As long as we keep that in mind, I think these are powerful tools. It's kind of like, if you're a carpenter, use a nail gun, you can, fix things quicker. You can go about the work quicker, but a nail gun is also quite dangerous. You have to know how to use it. Right? So machines don't do all these things, but they do other things that we can apply them to. So as we're moving into this world, the pyramid of what we're going to end up doing changes dramatically. So the lower part, intelligence, knowledge, data and information, that's kind of becoming machine turf. Not all knowledge, of course, intelligence. We'll keep a lot of that as well. But simple data and information, machines will do that. And that will change our education forever. We're going to move up into the top part of this pyramid, the human turf, right? Tacit knowledge, quiet knowledge, understanding, wisdom, purpose, consciousness, spirituality, human agency. And how do we learn that at school? Well, that should be part of what we're studying. And that's why we should also bring back the humanities, because the humanities is not something that machines will get or will try to understand to make value from. The future of human work is beyond data and even to some degree beyond knowledge. There's a great book by William Halal, it's called Beyond Knowledge, that outlines how that would work, and it's powerful stuff to read. So the Polanyi paradox says, you may know about Polanyi, the philosopher, he says, we know more than we can tell. This is important to remember. This is why we are together. This is why we go to physical events. Right? There's things that we know that we just don't know that we know. But we have them. Very hard for machines to have that. The Moravec paradox says whatever is easy for a computer is hard for a human, and vice versa. Bottom line on this is, if you work like a robot, today or tomorrow, a robot will take your job. And that is a certainty. So if you learn like a robot, downloading information for later, you'll end up working for the robot. Very important to keep that in mind. Let's not robotize our students. Let's not robotize what we do. Let's move out of the robotics, the efficiency, the optimization, the productivity. Let's move into what makes us truly human. Let's move into science, technology, engineering, mathematics, like we have for a long time, but we must add what I call a HECI, humanity, ethics, creativity, imagination. It's part of my book, Technology versus Humanity. You can read it up there. But basically, it's the two things coming together, not just one of them, to make complete human beings, awesome human beings, as I like to say. Now, we're going to move into a world where that is becoming essentially problem-based learning. In many universities and schools around the world, like in Finland, you already have project-based courses. So you're learning about climate change. You're learning about the language of climate change, the physics of climate change, the politics of climate change. That's the topic. You're not just one thing. So a completely different cup of tea as to how we go about our curriculum. And it's also totally obvious as we're moving into this future, we're going to need to think a little bit larger than this. We're going to need to think about two things here. First, of course, imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. That's what Einstein said. Well, Einstein was quite knowledgeable. Right? So knowledge, intellect, logic, I think that's very important to me, very important to you, I'm sure. We have to combine them. But also something we need here is courage. Courage to go beyond what we've done before. Courage to do something new. So Henry Miller, one of my favorite writers, he said, one's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. We have to see things differently. And I hope that's part of the outcome that we can achieve today. Think about the future differently. It's a new way of seeing things, and we can see things differently, and that creates innovation. And innovation creates progress. So really powerful stuff if we can really see things differently. So let's talk about the end of routine and what that means. I've mentioned it before. So basically what's happening is that machines can now do the routine work, whether it's in factories, driving a car, kind of, right? But calculating things, doing a customer service order, comparing data, filing information, do your social security check, all that. If it's routine, the machine can do it. So these routines are things that machines can do. And they're learning by 2030, every routine can be handled as long as it doesn't require human judgment. And you'd be surprised how many routines require human judgment, like driving a car. It turns out it's not quite as simple as just getting a bunch of computer and LiDARs on top of that. No, we don't really have a lot of self-driving cars. I mean, we're getting there, and Elon keeps promising, but yeah, we have assisted driving now, already be a good start. We have robots that help us, for example, in the kitchen. But, let's be frank, who would want to buy a $250,000 kitchen robot like this so he can make a salad? That seems kind of a stretch. But anyway, I mean, we're getting into automation, into routine. And of course, as I was saying earlier jokingly, the monkey work is going away. AI will probably liberate us from doing the monkey work. But then again, there's some monkey work that's quite valuable. It's also comforting to some people. And we have to think about people who do mostly commodity work. What happens to them? How do we figure out what happens to their work and their workplace? Do we support them to find something else? Do we have a basic income? Or all these things have been discussed many times. We have to think about where that's going. We can't just say, well, replace all of that. Like you see here in this chart, I think this is from ARC partners. The output of AI-assisted knowledge workers is vastly bigger. So 4 or 5 times paralegals, office support, I can work faster, more efficiently. And of course, the key question is, can I trust the AI to give me the right answers? So there'll be quite a bit of supervision there. But imagine if we can be even 3 times as efficient in work. I mean, that truly is going to change our entire economy. And that means I can do other jobs, and I can do human-only jobs. But we have to be careful so that it doesn't evolve into the polarization where the people who are running the systems and who are on top, they're doing really great, and everybody else is doing bad because they're being automated. That's something we got to think about. A very big discussion about how to do that. So the challenges of AI, I'll give you a couple of slides on this, and then we'll wrap up and have conversation. So first, I'm using this mock-up here from OpenAI, from Blade Runner, that was 1982, the corporation, the Tyrell Corporation that basically ran the replicants, right? And famous quote from that film, more human than human. That's what a machine can be. I think we have to wonder about this, and we have to wonder about people like Mark Andreessen, who's a techno-optimist and probably the biggest investor in Silicon Valley for the last 25 years. Very smart guy, but he says here, no material problem, including those caused by technology, cannot be solved with more technology. And I really don't agree with that. I think we have many problems where we need human policy, social, cultural issues to go into it to solve things. We're not going to solve wars with technology. And in fact, we're stoking wars with technology. So we got to think about that. We got to probably figure out how to use an intelligent artificial intelligence agency according to the IAIA. The United Nations has called for that. I think that is definitely a good idea. When we think about general intelligence, machines with an IQ of 1 trillion, we got to think about how we can control that, like nuclear weapons. So that's coming. Not today. Today we have much more sort of menial concerns about how that's going to impact our labor market, but they're also going to grow. And we have to think about how we can protect what makes us human, because great technology should not aim to replace humans, but to amplify human capabilities. Doug Engelbart, the founder of artificial intelligence of the field, right? 1955, augmentation, cognification, automation, and what we don't want is the last part. We don't want artificial intelligence to create what I call dehumanization, where we have to pretend to be like machines because the machines like it. And in social media, we've had many of those issues. And, we have to rehumanize social media. We have to rehumanize media in general. So we have to be careful about dehumanization. We don't want that because that takes away our value. If you become technology, you become a commodity. Not a good idea. Something we have to think about how we can protect ourselves and how we can use our digital rights. And now, the European Commission has just passed the Artificial Intelligence Act on this topic. I think it's very powerful stuff. Not always easy to execute on that, of course, right? Let me wrap up by talking about the future mindset and future readiness, very important point for a university. So I couldn't find a woman here with a, World War I, I think, or World War II radar listening device. But basically, we have to try and learn how to pay attention to the future. And we have to observe, not predict, just observation. And there's always things like critical thinking, foresight, imagination, resilience, questions, optimism, courage. We have to practice those, not just logic, not just productivity. And that's so crucial for a university to install that in their students and, of course, the staff as well. Critical thinking, resilience, asking questions. Because basically, I really believe that the world of the future is not about having bigger brains and being smarter. Being smarter, faster, more intelligent, more knowledge, more productivity and efficiency is not the key to our future success. It's taken for granted that we're smarter and faster. It's not the only key. The key is to be more human, to understand things that only humans can. The percentage of human-only tasks, the things that we do because we are human, it's going up rapidly already. I think it's going to go to 98% or so, basically, in the very near future. The things that we do because we have to do them. Judgment, negotiation, observation, imagination, intuition. We have to learn those things, and we have to get better at them to actually form a human-only future. Well, human-only in the sense of, we are part of people, planet, purpose, prosperity. We're not just humans. There's also the planet and, of course, nature. So what do we do now? First, let's keep in mind, the doors aren't closing. People look at today, and they look at wars, they look at geopolitics, they look at, the climate crisis, and they're saying the doors are closing for humanity. I don't think that's true. I think the doors are opening, not closing. And the opening is the painful part. That's the part where we say, oh, now we have to act differently. We found the tiny opening. If you've ever been to therapy, you know what I'm talking about. You find the tiny opening in that door. It's very painful. You have to go through there. On the other end, there's a new future. That's what's happening right now. The doors are opening. And we have to look at this and say, how can we build a good future? A just future, a fair future, right? A future that works for all of us, not just Americans, of course, on a global level, and not just Europeans. We have to think of a larger story, people, planet, purpose, and prosperity. And we have to think about education and what we learn in a larger way. It's going to be about awesome humans. I love that great old American word. Doesn't really exist in Germany or anywhere else. But with amazing technology, not under amazing technology, not slaved by amazing technology. Let's keep in mind, technology has no ethics, and lots of technology companies don't have a lot of ethics either, like Meta and other companies. Well, we have to wonder, what are they doing to us? Are they still doing the right thing? We have to supervise that. We need to have awesome humans. That's the point of education. That's where we're going to go to. So we need to think about the future like this and say, wow, okay, so clearly I could be worried and hide under the sofa because, there may be a nuclear conflict. There may be geopolitical change. There may be something happening with China. And then, it's like 100 things. But here's the thing. Your mindset contains your future. Mindset means you think badly about the future, what is possible, what's not possible, it will end up badly. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. We must stay optimistic. The optimist makes the future. The pessimist is subject to the future falling down on them. It's something that we make. The future doesn't come from Silicon Valley or from China or from, never mind, Russia or someplace like that. The future is something that we make. All of us, every day, we make decisions. And universities are, of course, destined to lead in how we make that future. Great quote here from Buckminster Fuller. He says, we are to be architects of the future, not its victims. That is just so important because we want to take charge of the future. No matter where you are, we all can be in charge of our future, even if we're not subject to making policy. Now, artificial intelligence, clearly, it's a powerful tool. We need to embrace it. We need to engage. But let's use it with care. Like I said earlier, you can use a nail gun if you're a carpenter, but you better be careful how you use it. You can use a hammer and kill people. So those issues are common to all tools. But we have to engage with care. And we have to look at boundaries. and say what's okay and what's not okay. It's not okay to mimic how politicians or other leaders look like and spread manipulated information. It's not okay to spread 50 million blog posts on one topic just because you have a fancy robot that can do it. So, I mean, you got to think about that. So basically engage, but use with care. So I want to thank you very much for your time and your attention. I know this was a lot of information. We're going to pass along the PDF, and the video will be available later on replay on YouTube and other places as well. Now we're going to dive into a conversation. We're going to bring James back, and now look forward to your chats and your comments and your questions and whatever you have in mind. Thanks very much.
All right. Hello, everybody, again. So yeah, that was a lot of stuff. I hope you're still there. And I saw some questions in the feed, which is good. So you can just comment on YouTube or LinkedIn. We'll see the questions here. And I think it's also live on Twitter. And you can comment and we'll try to answer your questions. Shall we pick the first one? Maybe from Skeptical Salomon? That
Sure.
sounds like a great name. So if AGI is achieved, AGI is artificial general intelligence, which is defined as a machine that is more intelligent in almost all human tasks than all of humanity combined. How will the world economy change, and how will universal basic income be a must in capitalist countries like America? Oh God, that's a big question, right? So first, artificial general intelligence means a machine that is superior to all combined human brains, that is better at doing most of the economically viable work than humans. And in my view, that the creation of such a machine is a bit of a death wish, because I think it's a better idea to say, well, can we focus on a machine that has serious competence to solve our problems like water, food, energy, death, disease, plenty of those, rather than becoming conscious. Because one thing I'd be really worried about is a machine that essentially makes us a second-level intelligence. So we would no longer be the first-rate intelligence, but the second-rate intelligence. And it's kind of a paradox. We were thinking of that to happen if an aliens would come to Earth and they would be the really intelligent, the super intelligent. But now we are creating this ourselves. So it's kind of an interesting angle. I think we should be very careful with looking for that goal. And it worries me a lot that OpenAI and also Microsoft to some degree are making this the official dogma of what they want to create. So yeah, that is an issue. I think if we have general intelligence and even just a little bit more broad intelligence, our whole economy will change. And then the real question is, if machines are doing the majority of the work, can we take all these gains in productivity, which are going already like this, and can we spread around the benefits? And can we do that in a capitalist system? And are there any alternatives to the capitalist system? Right? And these are very big questions. And basically what it means for me, we have to rethink our strategy that has been pretty much the same since Milton Friedman in the 70s, which is the purpose of an economy is to generate revenues and money. And now the purpose has to be larger. Right? People, planet, purpose, prosperity. And that may lead to a kind of a basic income, probably not in America first. That is a tall order for a lot of reasons. But here in Switzerland, that has been discussed very deeply. And, so the idea would be, in my view, not necessarily to pay people to live, but to provide public services like energy, housing, food, as part of a package. And there's lots of trials of that happening in Canada, for example, even in some places in the US. And we may see that as a viable outcome, but those are, of course, very big topics. One thing is for sure, if we don't succeed changing the economic priority into a larger view, and the priority remains to monetize everything we can to extract money or data or oil for that matter, right? Then basically we're going to top out in our possibilities. And I think we're seeing that point right now. And this is the painful moment about what's happening. So big debate
Good.
there. James, you want to add something to that, or?
Yeah, I just want to thank you. Your presentation was excellent and sweeping in its scope. This technology, AI, seems a bit different than Yale students in the 1820s who walked out in opposition to new technology, the chalkboard. Fast forwarding 200 years now, this global technology, AI, ChatGPT in particular, the rhetoric is it's going to change the world, work, teaching, and learning, as you mentioned. And some are saying that AI has passed the Turing test. For us in colleges and universities, you talked about problem-based learning. What does it mean for us in higher education, post-secondary education? We know students are using it. It raises questions of academic integrity. But on the other hand, it is a replete source. It's a wonderful source for students to learn and to use. How do you square that circle with the humanity and ethics that you talked about, that we're to foster in our students in post-secondary education, with the tension of just the academic integrity and using cheating is the word we're using? I'll stop there.
Yeah, well, the Turing test may not be a very good measurement of whether a machine is intelligent or not. You know? The basic problem with machine intelligence is that we're thinking of intelligence as logical horsepower, you know, processing power. And machines will have so much of that that we won't be able to compete. But intelligence is, according to Gardner, you know, research shows 8, 10, some people would say 50 different pieces of intelligence. Yeah? And a machine only has one level of intelligence, which is computing, and basically numbers and statistics and logic, and it's unlimited in that. But human intelligence has to do with intuition, imagination, emotional intelligence, kinesthetic, you know, all of those pieces that we understand as intelligent. And one person can be very intelligent in one particular way and not at all in another way, right? And we know that from humans. So what is happening, I think, is our saving grace, really, is that intelligence is very badly defined right now. And we don't really know what makes humans intelligent or more intelligent or less intelligent. But we know that artificial intelligence does not exist in the real world. It exists in the world of data. And that world is only partial of the real world. Some people would say currently between 5 to 8% of the real world can be captured in data, right? For example, the data of the internet does not include all the 365 languages of India and all the variations of Chinese, and the entire world history is only sort of, you know, white, sort of Caucasian background that has filled up the internet mostly. So it's very incomplete, and it has bias and has all of those things. So the bottom line is the data that the AI is trained on is only partially a piece of our reality, right? And Elon Musk said the other day, which I very much agree with, he said that, you know, if we want to solve problems like the self-driving car or other very deep problems, we have to transport the AI into the real world. And that is very difficult because the AI doesn't smell, it doesn't have feelings, it doesn't taste anything. You know, it's not a complete intelligence. Like, you know, when you meet another human, it takes like 4 seconds to kind of gauge the other person to see if they're interested or interesting or a potential enemy, partner, so on, right? Very difficult for a computer to do that. So this is why I'm saying I think what we really should be looking for machines is competence in solving problems that can be solved with a machine mind, right? But I generally would say that we should stay away from any word that promises kind of like the machine to be like us, like the mind, the heart, the thinking, the understanding. These are all very human words because, you know, we don't think just in here. Right? Everybody knows that, and so there is a difference that we should keep also. That's why I'm saying it's probably not a good idea and not beneficial to us to build something that can simulate all of humanity and potentially be out of control. And that's why I think the Turing test is a bit of an old measurement. You know, there. We may have a lot of problems with AI before it can pass the Turing test because of what it does.
Thank you.
On the other hand, right, James, it's really, I mean, that we have to keep in mind. using AI, we can solve amazing problems like cancer, like climate change, like water, like nuclear fusion, like new medications, and synthetic biology and nanotechnology, right? And so it is too tantalizing to say that we're not going to go near it, right? And that's why I said earlier, general purpose tool means it's going to be absolutely everywhere.
We have one more question, but before I get to that, a follow-up.
Yeah.
You mentioned the EU's AI Act. Where do you think the regulation should be coming in? This worry about existential threat from AI. Where are the guardrails coming in? How do you see the regulation, if at all?
Well, the AI Act has a clear structure there. It says there's existential risk, which is subject to global understanding and regulation. So if you're going to build an AGI, a general intelligence, that can trump every human and bypass every means to contain it, that certainly warrants kind of nuclear level agreements, because that's basically a no-win situation. If you're going to build an AI that can, summarize a PDF or those kind of things, you probably don't need regulation for that unless it's about intellectual property, right? And that is, of course, the hard part of the mission. And we will need to come together on a global level, because I don't think anybody wants AI to become a weapon, where we can use it, for example, for independent drone killings, which has been proposed, or all these kind of nefarious things, We want it to be a tool for the good. And I think every tech company wants that. But we also have to be mindful of the fact that we're talking about the biggest economic change along with green energy, really,
Yes.
for the last 100 years. And that's very tantalizing. If you're a company that's saying, okay, I'm going to make 5 trillion, replacing humans, or I'm only going to make 500 billion, being more careful, then what's your choice, right? So these are tough topics.
Good. Marion Moore writes, Emily Bender has called for watermarking all synthetic text, image, and sound. She calls AI a synthetic text extruder, pardon me. Your thoughts? Agree? Who's responsible for doing this?
Yes, we have a clear problem in that we already seen that in social media, that basically a truth and a reality is being manufactured.
Yes.
So if you're a 13-year-old girl on Instagram, then your reality is being manufactured by all the great-looking other girls that do great things on Instagram, and you want to be like her. And that's a manufactured reality. Right? It's a synthetic reality. If we're going to use artificial intelligence to create synthetic actors and synthetic other things that are basically all around us, and if the narrative of society and the political narrative is narrated by a machine that wants us to do certain things, or that has the intent of manipulating us, like in elections, right? We probably wouldn't have had the Brexit if it hadn't been for social media. That's one of the great examples, because that was used as an instrument of making fear, right? So I'm very much for saying if content is synthetic, just like you do with clothes, you have to say it's not cotton, it's synthetic, right? You have to prove its provenance and where it comes from. That you have to say it's made by a machine, and therefore it may be questionable, right? Whether that's realistic, that's a very difficult question. However, going back to what you asked before, artificial intelligence at this moment is capable of doing some pretty amazing stuff, but when you do a lot of it, it tends to look very much the same. Right? It's not truly creative or imaginative. Like David Byrne, the famous musician, once said, AI can play music, but it cannot make great music. Right? So to that I would say, yeah, AI can make content, but most of it isn't very good. And you know why that is? Because it doesn't exist. How can you create content without emotions? And yes, you can fake emotions, but you can't be emotional by faking emotions, right? So I'm not that worried about that becoming the new standard. I think, for example, music made by an AI, or a book written by an AI, yeah, it could be entertaining, but most of it won't be good.
Yes.
It won't be like truly good, you know?
We are in an election year, as you said. 2 billion plus people will be voting this year in America and India and other nations. And we're worried, we're concerned about AI and election manipulation, as you said, the deep fakes that are now coming out. This is not a technology question. It's a human problem or a moral problem, isn't it? Where does the science with conscience come in, or the moral questions surrounding the technology then fit within this revolutionary technology?
Yes, like I said, I think, you know, what we're going to see, and with the elections, it has been actually, until now, it has been kind of a mild problem, you know. We haven't seen that being a major problem in Indonesia or in India. We're going to see a major problem in the US, of course, because that's just the nature of what happens in the US, you know, with the election. You know, it's just a whole different cup of tea. But generally speaking, I think there is ways of saying, okay, authenticated human or not. And I think that would be a great thing to have. You know, if you are broadcasting a video, then you have an authenticating factor. And even though it could look exactly like me, you know, I can fake my voice very easily. And in fact, I do that already on YouTube, having my speeches translated into Spanish. You know, it's basically making up my own voice in Spanish. So there are good effects here. And I think really what we have to ask the question, when we have powerful technology, we have more responsibility, and the players providing it, like OpenAI, like IBM, like Microsoft, like Baidu, Alibaba, they have more responsibility. And we need to, we can see that with Facebook and Meta, right? If we don't make people responsible, they'll take the money and run, is what Meta has done, right?
Yes.
And we can't have that again with AI. We can't let them run away with our elections and our democracy and monetize and then just say goodbye.
Yes, thank you. Christopher Green writes, what opportunities and challenges do you foresee for rural communities as they navigate the integration of AI and other technologies into the economies and social structures?
Well, of course, you know, the best thing for rural communities anywhere in the world, really, new jobs are going to pop up in the cloud virtually, like they already do. So if you live somewhere out in the woods in Georgia, you can work for a company in New York and contribute. That's already true. But with artificial intelligence, you can be more powerful, you can research quicker, you can learn a new job in a week. I always say jokingly, our future is to invent our own work, our own job, and then upgrade ourselves all the time and have fun while we're doing it. And let's be clear, in our age, you know, we didn't have that. We had like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 jobs in our lifetime. But our kids may have 50 jobs or 100 jobs in their lifetime, and half of those might be generated by themselves. Like, you know, today we have about 20 million people working in social media. These jobs didn't exist 15 years ago. And now we're going to have jobs that deal with integrating artificial intelligence. And the good thing is, if you live in a rural community, we need to provide equal access, broadband access to everyone as a blanket coverage, just like we do for the phone or energy, right? That's clear. But once we have that, we can get people to study and to learn and to connect to others like never before. And yes, that's not the same than going to Harvard. You know, not everybody can go to Harvard or to Berkeley College like I did. You know, sure. But we have a much more even playing ground there. And, you know, if you're 15 years old now, you live somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains, yes, you can study AI. It's entirely possible.
You concluded your talk with the statement that we have to have a mindset of the future, to be optimistic, to be the architects of our future, rather than the pessimistic position of receiving what's coming to us, a more active sense. And I guess that's Skeptical Solomon posing that question again. Solomon, pardon me. He asks, if AI were to one day achieve consciousness, like how are we aware of ourselves and our surroundings? Back to the mindset of the future and this technology that is a tsunami coming at us. Where are humanist values coming in, he asks, and that pulls us back to your comment again about Gardner's point and the tension in the STEM and knowledge and back to teaching and learning. Yeah.
I think it's very unlikely that machines will ever reach this level of consciousness or reasoning. What is likely, however, is that they could fake it. They could simulate to be human, right? Like we already have robots that simulate humanoid robots. We already have that. Right? And the real danger is not that this will happen, but that we believe it, that we think it's real, and that we get confused. And like we saw in the movie Her, right? And we fall in love with an operating system, or as we saw in Black Mirror and so on. The real issue today is not that machines will take over, but that we become too much like them. That we get lazy, and we sort of we have this abdication process, where we say, oh, I'm resigning, the machine knows better, all these kind of things. And this is where education comes in. Education on the humanities means there's things that only we can do. And yes, granted, maybe in 100 years, a robot can do that. It is possible. Whether we would want that to be possible, I don't think so. The singularity, transhumanism, I think that's all a very bad idea. However, technically speaking, it may be possible. And this comes down to rules. For example, at what point do you become a cyborg when you get other pieces to your body, and wearing the brain-computer interface and the neural link and all that stuff, right? So this comes down to public policy, where we say, okay, until now, yes, you can have aberrations, but it probably is not a good idea that it's normal to connect my brain to the internet directly. That strikes me as a very bad policy. It strikes me also as a bad policy is to use trillions of dollars to build an economy where we can replace people entirely. It's probably good policy for those doing it because they can make lots of money. But for humanity, it's kind of, it strikes me as a paradox.
AI, I assume we're thinking in the West or the North or developed countries. What about the impact of AI on developing countries or the South? Will they be left behind? How do you foresee that, Futurist? Will they be left behind? Is this another step that they'll have to catch up? And yes, the question of that.
Here's the thing about developing countries. Okay, basically, we are now in a situation where developing countries are taken over in population growth. America and Europe is shrinking in population. Africa is exploding. Asia is still exploding. Basically, in 40 years, almost 50% of the world's population will be from Africa. Okay, that's a clear demographic trend. And what this means is that basically the developing countries are starting a tidal wave of changing everything. And we need to make sure that we can bring everybody aboard, and that this is about, for example, climate change and renewable energy. And what it means as a consequence, which COP28 has already started, is that basically we're going to have to pay for those countries to come along. We have to give them technology, we have to transfer money, and we can't say to India, why don't you stop building power plants because you're making pollution, and instead, you can stay underdeveloped, and that's not going to happen. Right? And that's not going to happen in Brazil. That's not going to happen in Africa. So, if we want this to happen, we have to think of a global agenda, a global consciousness that says we are going to be able to provide that technology. We're going to have them participate, and maybe a country like India or Brazil or Indonesia, they can leap. Using technology, they can leap from coal plants into nuclear fusion, when the time comes. It is possible, but it requires us to think of this as a global issue. Right? And America is a difficult turf for these discussions because it's a very much it's a large island, you could say, and Europe has a more encompassing view of the world. That's why we have the regulation and stuff. So I think it would be a good idea to start thinking about a global objective in 20 years, when we have unlimited computing power and one computer with the power of the human brain. It's going to be all about collaboration. And I say it could be heaven or it could be hell. I would prefer that we create heaven.
Yes, I know.
Not in the literal sense.
Yes, I know in the state of Georgia where I'm sitting, many institutions are using AI. in marine biology, forest research, and fossil development.
Yeah.
So it is for us in higher education for research purposes, and as you rightly say, it's a tool for us to think about our global issues and a solution that we so sorely need to follow.
And I wanted to answer the question that you said earlier about the students using AI for tests and cheating.
Please,
and so on, right?
yes.
So here's the thing, right? We want people to use technology to enable them to find themselves and to find new things and to get ahead. We don't want them to use technology to fake everything. We want them to use technology to find things that they can be contributing. And I think what AI does to a large degree, if you ever made a video with AI or a photo with AI, you always say that, you know, that's a really amazing tool, but still, you know, I still have to be good also. And I think students are realizing cookie cutter stuff from ChatGPT isn't going to get them into Harvard.
That's right.
Even if they can fake it or lie or cheat, whatever you want to call it, you know, it doesn't matter because they're not actually capable in the end, right? So I always say that basically AI, as we have it today, is kind of like helping people to learn and do things on steroids. But if you're really a lousy student, you will remain a lousy student if you just copy and paste, right? And if you're a great student, then using AI will get you into the stratosphere, which is, you know, there's sort of a poetic justice in that. You know, in the end, the human skills like creation, imagination, intuition, hunches, that is what's going to get you into a great job and into a great career, not being able to cut and paste efficiently. That part of it is kind of a fear that we have, and it creates a sort of a fake world. But ultimately, it just brings us back to ourselves and saying, oh, if you don't have any skills, that's bad no matter how you look at it.
Many thanks. This has been excellent. You've provided us with some rich information and knowledge and insights as we walk forward in the future in this country and other countries. Thank you so much, Gerd Leonhard, for our keynote speaker in the 2024 HOAG Lecture Series at the University of North Georgia. And thank you all for attending wherever you are.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So we're going to publish this, the recording of the speech separately and also the slides. So just check the YouTube channel or LinkedIn where you were before. And of course, the university bulletin boards and blog posts and so on this topic. And please do check out my book, Technology versus Humanity. I know it's 7 years old, Judd. It's mind-boggling. It feels like yesterday when I wrote it. It's techversushuman.com. And you can find it on Amazon. And I think some of the students at the university will actually receive a free copy. But
yes, true.
It's a great read about AI, even though it's from 2016. I don't know, was I early or was everything else late? I don't know. But anyway, it's been great being here with you, and good luck, and I'll see you in the future.
Thank you, Gerd. Good day.
Thank you.